Today on CityCast Boise, it's Friday, and I've got our Hey Boise newsletter editor Blake Hunter with me to sort through the week's news. We're talking winter weather predictions, canceled city council elections, and the loss of a beloved community member and friend. It's Friday, September 29th. I'm Emma Arnold, and this is what Boise's talking about. Blake, happy Friday.
Good morning, Emma. How's it going?
Well, it's going pretty good other than, it's been so gorgeous this week, honestly. Yeah. It's been so nice. And this cooling down, I've been feeling it. I've been loving it. And then I just read this Farmer's Almanac thing that says we're in for possibly another very snowy snowmageddon-y type winter, and I'm just trying to emotionally prepare myself for that.
Yeah.
You know,
the darkness I'm not saying is enough, but the snow is it really supposed to be snowmageddon level?
I don't know if it's going to be. That Farmer's Almanac says that the Northwest, which they're including us in for a seasonably cold but very wet winter, and a couple, farmers, people who have said, oh well, they've been mostly correct, so right. That's what I'm hearing, But really, what I'm basing this on is my beekeeper friends in Idaho have said that, and I don't know how true this is. This is just beekeeper lore, just so you know. But when the bees pack their honey in very tightly, so in a hive, you have those big box, and then you have 10 frames. And typically they'll fill out those 10 frames with honey and brood. But if they start packing in honey very tight in the center, that supposedly means you're in for a rough winter. Because the bees are predicting, for whatever reason, because they know everything apparently, that it's going to be very cold and very wet, and they're not going to be able to get out of the hive for days at a time, months. Or months, even weeks and months. So
wow.
So that's what the beekeepers are saying, is we're in for a very snowy winter.
And listen, I feel like we should be listening to the bees. I feel like they're probably right, at least to mentally prepare ourselves for the worst. But yeah, I mean, I can deal with seasonably cold as long as it's not extra cold. I can deal with the snow a little bit, I guess. I think that's fine.
I'll be honest, probably part of the reason I'm bring on another snowmageddon is because I was actually, I was in Hawaii for that entire situation for work.
Okay.
One of the few times I get to go somewhere cool for comedy instead of,
yeah. Okay.
So I'm mentally preparing myself for something that I didn't even go through last time. Everybody else was sending me pictures and crying. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in Maui. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that checks out. I understand the full picture here now. Well, we are supposed to have a pretty wet weekend, too. We had some, I think, gorgeous, late summer thunderstorms rolling through.
Yeah.
But it's been very clear the last few weeks. It's been, really gorgeous. But it's pretty much supposed to rain all weekend. The chances are fairly low, but it's supposed to rain, every day. So maybe we'll get a head start in preparation this weekend.
Yeah, just a nice rainy fall, which honestly sounds emotionally where I'm at. I don't know about everybody else,
great.
but I'm ready.
Make soup.
Yeah, just making soup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sent you a picture. I have to tell our listeners too, but as everybody knows, I've been sick for a month and a half now, and I haven't been able to eat a whole lot. I've had no appetite. And yesterday I said, I think I could finally eat some soup. I feel like I could finally, because I've been literally living off applesauce and crackers for a while. And my husband, who's so sweet, ran to Costco, bought every kind of soup that they have, came home with so much soup. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow, thank you. So I am souped up. I'm ready for this rainy weekend.
That's
for
amazing.
Sure.
That was the cutest thing. That photo was so sweet. You were like,
He's so
I
adorable.
could maybe eat a can of soup. And he's like, how about 8 pre-packaged large portions?
Double portions, because it's Costco, so there's 2 of every kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and
so
he had
sweet.
also, before that, when I said I wanted soup, he made stew and he brought me some while I was working, and I was like, oh, this is too hearty for me. Thank you. I can't eat this. So then he ran and got soup. Sweetest man.
Wow.
Sweetest man.
Wow.
Nobody tell him, but he's the sweetest man.
Yeah.
Well, you had something in the newsletter this week that I thought was really interesting, and I'm a little confused about. that some city council elections got canceled.
Yes. So there's this weird. So in 2020, the Idaho legislature passed. It's like an actual amendment. It's to essentially cancel any local elections that there's no like competition in. So Jimmy Halliburton and Lucy Willits of District 6 and District 1 in Boise City Council, respectively, are currently running unopposed. And, they're two incumbents. And so the rest of the city council races are like still pretty up in the air. Like the competition's building, but neither of them have any competition. And so those races have been declared over. So it's kind of strange because, like District 1 and District 6 voters now will go to the ballot in early November or earlier if they're doing absentee or whatever. And they just won't have a city council item on their ballot, which is very strange. But, it's not like they don't have the representation, I guess. I don't know. Like there was a Boise Dev article about this, and both Willits and Halliburton kind of made a comment of like, it's weird. This is a weird situation. And this happened out in Meridian as well. John Overton there was an appointed to their city council, and he has no challengers either. So he's just a shoo-in. So those races are like over. I don't really know why they weren't just like leave him on the ballot like that.
Yeah, I don't like it. I'm going to tell you right now. I don't care for it.
Yeah.
For one thing, because whenever my family has this tradition of whenever there's only one person on the ballot, especially if we weren't obviously going to vote for that person anyway, we always write in my brother-in-law for every single one. I'm not going to say his name, but we always write him in the off chance that like enough of us do that he would be great at anything. He's very talented, very smart,
might work up
very
in
ethical
salmon.
man.
Yeah,
honestly, those are salmon politics. You write in your brother-in-law, whatever. No, but for reals though, like honestly, I don't like it. To me, it feels like you still should have the write-in option just in case, in case a month before something comes out and people are like, whoa, wait a minute here, I don't know. I don't care for it.
Yeah, and it doesn't really make sense as like a cost-saving measure because, there are still ballots being sent out to those districts. Like they're still going to vote for the mayoral race. They're still going to vote for all of these other races going on. It's just that there will be less ink on the page. So I don't really get it. I don't like it.
And I'm one of the people who, I'm in West Boise. Lucy Willits, Councilperson Willits is my councilperson. And, I really am disappointed for her and Jimmy, who are on very opposite sides of the political spectrum, that they didn't have anybody running against them. Because I think that kind of competition lets you know more about your candidate. I disagree with Lucy Willits on quite a few of the things she said recently, where she said she doesn't feel like the mayor should be focusing on the unhoused population so much. She thinks in West Boise, people want her to focus specifically on like parks and, middle class problems, not unhoused people problems. And whereas you and I have talked a lot about like, those are still people in our community. That is still my neighborhood. Also, West Boise, a lot of poverty over here too. Yes, there's some swanky subdivisions, but there's also a lot of trailer parks and stuff. So, and a lot of people who are on the verge of being unhoused at any second. So I really do wish that somebody had run against both of them. I think that competition is healthy, and I'm bummed they didn't. And then to also just to be like, oh, well, you don't even have to campaign. You don't even really have to do anything.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah. And I'm like, who does like it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, these council members also mentioned, like, I think it was Lucy Willits who mentioned, like, I don't really know if this is what the legislature intended, but here we are. So this is the current situation. But yeah, the competition thing is a good point. And like, we've talked about this with like the mayoral race of, there are 3 candidates currently. But I wish that the competition, I wish that the competition was a little bit more stiff because we need to like be tested a little bit more. And that's just not really happening. So it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the problem we would love to have is too many good candidates, too many people that you're like, I really had to do my research to understand the differences between these people.
Yeah.
I really, I had to push myself and push myself politically a little. But instead, it's kind of like, oh, well, I guess this is who we're stuck with for a while, good or bad, depending on how you feel.
And it's not like we're like scraping the bottom of the barrel here. I mean, Willits and Halliburton have already served on the council, and, they have experience. And, if you're going to have a shoo-in candidate like this, I would much rather have it be someone who's already on the council and already has experience. But, like, what if literally no one else ran against just somebody who didn't have any experience, which obviously someone else would probably step in, I would hope. But who knows, next election, this may turn out very differently because of this rule.
Hopefully. Hey there, dreamers! Boise Entrepreneur Week is just around the corner with even more can't-miss events and prizes for entrepreneurs, would-be entrepreneurs, and the organizations that support them. Over the course of 5 days, thousands of go-getters just like you will share, challenge, and support each other. Besides building businesses, you'll walk away from the week with new confidence and skills, a deep sense of community, and plenty of ways to support our local economy. There are multiple pitch competitions where finalists will compete for more than $200,000. Plus, one standout pitch finalist will receive $100,000 in equity funding. Have an idea for a food or beverage product disruptor? Your pitch could end up in the Albertsons Broadway store in Boise. And the best part, tickets are absolutely free, ensuring that this opportunity is for everyone, no matter where you are on your startup journey. Get your tickets and find the full schedule at boiseentrepreneur.week.org.
Instacart helps you get beer and wine delivered in as fast as an hour. So, whether you need to fill the cooler for tailgate season or fill your glass for Pinot by the Fire season, you can save time by getting fall sips delivered in just a few clicks. Visit instacart.com or download the app to get free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum order $10. Additional terms apply. Must be 21 or over for alcohol delivery where available. Instacart. Add life to cart.
And speaking of, the mayoral candidates as well, we just recently, both of us listened to the most recent episode of the Latino Card, which, features the late host JJ Saldana, and he, interviewed the current 2 kind of front runners, mayoral candidates, current Mayor Lauren McLean and former police chief Mac Masterson. And yeah, we're going to kind of talk about JJ today a little bit. I think that the outpouring of love has just been really amazing. And I really recommend, not just for the education of this episode, but just to hear JJ's voice. I really recommend that people go and listen to this because you can really, you can just really feel the love.
Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, there was some tears in the beginning, but everybody got through that episode pretty amazingly. And the tribute in the beginning to JJ was so moving.
I agree.
For people who don't know, JJ Saldana, I struggled to write this little bio, honestly, because it's kind of like how do you distill a lifetime of service down to, 4 or 5 things that I can say very quickly, but very quickly, he worked for over 2 decades with the Idaho Commission on Hispanic Affairs. He co-founded the Idaho Hispanic Youth Leadership Summit, and which they have awarded like $14 million in college scholarships to Latino high school students all over Idaho. And he's the host of the Latino Card, which is one of the best. It was a radio show, now a podcast, one of my favorites. One of the only things I honestly listen to. I love it.
Same, yeah.
And he also served on the VOS's internship of Idaho's advisory council, which helped get Latino reporters support and jobs and internships and stuff. So just did so much. But also, I want people to know, like, I feel like if you're like, I don't think I knew him, you did. Okay. You did. Because, like, he was one of those people, like, whatever event I was at, JJ was there. I would even be like, are there 6 of you? How do you do this? How are you? I'm so tired. How are you everywhere times 10 and also just so energetic? And I think one of the reasons, it's interesting when someone like JJ passes, who, is a man full of so much humility. Sorry. A person who had so much humility. And I think one of the interesting things about his passing is learning all of the things he did, because he was the kind of person, if as a reporter, if you were trying to get a quote from him about his work, he would pass you on to someone else. He would be like, oh, you know who you should talk to about this and about them? And he was always, people are joking about in his Twitter bio, it says, I'll make you famous. And that was because he literally was always pumping everybody else up.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
And man, and it's honestly, I knew I wouldn't get through this without crying, but he came on our podcast. He did a very fun brunch podcast with us. It was so fun. I mean, I laughed so hard during that episode. He was so funny, so charming. And, just a huge loss for everybody. The honorary mayor of Boise.
I would recommend that people just listen to even just the first few minutes of this episode of the Latino Card episode, just because you get a really good look into his philosophy and, like you said, just how he approached things. And it's funny that you mentioned that, passing someone off to talk to someone else, because that's the only conversation that I ever had in person. I only had one conversation ever with JJ in person, and it was in 2019, and I was covering this Latino organization that was doing political activism at Boise State, and he brought this group. He essentially by himself brought this group of students to the Capitol, and someone in this group is now a very beloved friend of mine, and he sat her down in one of the council rooms downstairs and was like, okay, you didn't ask for this, but you're going to practice testimony in front of in this empty committee room, and was like, this is how you turn on the mic, this is how you do it. I'm sure you have something to testify right now that you care about, so just spitball something, just get comfortable being in the room. And I think that is such a, and she's in law school now, she didn't want to do that before. And I think that I only met him once, but that was his energy. And we talked on Twitter several times, but that was just his energy of, in Idaho, I think a lot of people don't mean to close doors in the political realm, but JJ was such the energy of constantly opening doors. And anytime that you talk to him, it made you feel like there was possibility. He was constantly creating possibilities. And I just what a legacy to leave behind. And we'll read a couple of comments that people have posted on social media. But I just really hope that, we can just kind of all take a couple notes out of his book.
Yeah, I hope, even if you didn't know him, if you're listening to this, I hope that, okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. You can do this, Arnold. If you're listening to this and you didn't know JJ, I really think that it's become sort of unpopular to live a life of service like that. And I feel like every single person who met JJ thought they were his best friend. I mean, I didn't know him. I did not know him as well as many, many people did. And I literally felt I felt he had this feeling like you could go to him with anything. Yeah. And over we saw people say how they had helped him in these small, quiet, and sometimes not so quiet ways that he never bragged about. He didn't tell people. And it's so unfortunate that when someone passes, this is a lot of time. I do not envy whoever's writing his obituary, because it's going to have to just be the entire statesman, I think, because it just seems he's touched so many people. Well, I wanted to read a couple of these tributes, which touched me so much. Mia Maldonado, who has been on the show several times, she tweeted, JJ poured his heart and soul into these youth summits, which literally changed me and my brother's lives. Me and my brother were the only Latinos from North Idaho that came to the events back in 2016 and 2017. And he, JJ, personally made sure we got a chance to interview for scholarships. And if you go through, you can read that whole thread, which is just really, it's amazing how much in one person's life, how much he changed one person. And then when you think that there are hundreds, maybe more, people who he touched their lives that much. You got to read Rachel's, because I have to take a break.
Yeah. And what Mia is talking about is, these youth summits that I think have only been held at Boise State. They may have been held somewhere else, but I remember going to Boise State, and the energy that filled the student union building when those were happening, like there was such a positive vibration there. And like, even if you weren't in that community, you were feeling like this is some good stuff that's happening. Like this is some good work that's being done. So Rachel Spacek, who's also hosted the Latino Card and been on CityCast Boise several times, also posted this. The thing about JJ was he made you feel important. He made you feel like you belonged here. When I was lost, a little California girl in Idaho, he took me in and showed me that I belonged. He told me I mattered, that I was important, and what I had to say was worthy of being heard. That isn't something you can say about everyone. We are so wrapped up in ourselves and finding our place in the world. Someone who can say, your place, it is right here with me, with us, is a special person. He was one of the best men I've ever known. I miss you so much, amigo.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That line, your place, it's right here with me, with us. I want to say like, oh my gosh, I am bawling right now. But I want to say like, that is such a special gift for a person to have.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw the governor, the mayor, like all these people putting out statements about JJ, every single news anchor, every reporter in town.
Yeah.
I'm crying so hard I fogged up my glasses. I just want to say that in a place like Idaho where, my gosh, politically huge divides, trenches, marina trenches of divides politically, I would always marvel. I would see JJ in these spaces where I would be like, I know he is not welcome in that room or like on paper, what I mean? On paper, he is not welcome in that room, but because of who he was, he could move through any space and he could bring people together for any reason, for the smallest thing. I mean, I just think that, Rachel, that obviously wrecked us. My gosh, such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I want to read one more, which is by his Latino Card co-host, Rebecca De Leon, who is I'm a huge fan of hers. We're a huge fan of her. She's so amazing. She, in Boise Dev, had this incredible quote that I just keep reading this over and over, talking about how much she missed him. And then she said that he was one of the most respected Latino leaders in the state. But he was more than that. He was a hope for kids trying to go to college. He was a hope for kids experiencing discrimination at school who didn't know who to turn to. He always stood up for what's right, and he wasn't afraid to stick his neck out for someone. He was a light for so many people wanting to learn about Boise, the Latino community, representation in media, and advocacy for underrepresented people. And I just think that is, everybody kept quoting JJ over and over, saying he'd say, you can't be what you can't see. And I can't even finish. Okay. And we personally know so many reporters who came up under his wing and have places in Boise's, investigative reporter scene because of internships he helped them get, of scholarships he helped them get, of jobs he helped them find, but also just in telling them you have a place here, helping them know that.
Even if people didn't know JJ, if you follow, I don't know, just kind of politics and news in Boise, you have really felt his impact. And what a loving legacy. And I think that a lot of it is just that he always had his eye on the work. He was able to enter those spaces where he maybe wasn't as welcome on paper because he knew what he was there for. He always had his eye on the bigger picture. And that is so admirable. And when you live like that, you really just live with so much love. And what a great gift.
Well, I want people to know that there is a memorial on Saturday at Boise State University. They are hosting a celebration of life for JJ Saldana at 12:30 to 2:30 in the Simplot Ballroom in the Student Union there. We will link to that in the show notes so people can find it. But I know sometimes when someone passes, maybe you'll think, oh, like you said, I only met him in person one time. Maybe you feel like, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't go. I know I've gone to memorials or I haven't gone because I thought, well, I don't want to be I don't want to be looky-looey. I don't want to be infringing on someone's grief if I'm not as, wasn't as close. I don't think that applies here to JJ. I think that if you knew him from Twitter, if you knew him from Instagram, if you met him at Ignite one time, I think that you are welcome in that space, and JJ would want you there. Yeah. And we have to go to break because I have to have a hard sob for a minute. So, JJ, we love you, and Boise, the whole state is worse for not having you here.
Yeah.
This feels weird to segue into, but I, number one, feel like we can't just leave people with us sobbing here. So I want to end on something a little lighter. But also, like I said, JJ's whole thing was, I will make you famous. And I remember telling him once that I was like, oh, I have a hard time like promoting myself. I always feel like really embarrassed. And he was like, do not do that. Don't do that. Like, there are enough people who are going to ignore your stuff. Don't you ignore it too. So I thought it would be fun for us to talk about a couple of things like that we're excited about and what we're doing this weekend, and just maybe something a little lighter to take us out of this very sad moment. So what I'm doing this weekend, Blake, is I have some shows at Mad Swede, and people can come to them, and we can laugh together and have a good time. And I've got 3 comedy shows if you want to come, and I will try to lighten your load, and we can all laugh together and hug, and hopefully will be very fun, and I won't be mostly crying like this. So yeah.
Well, if you cry some, no one will hold it against you, or at least
also, if you've seen my comedy, I probably will cry at one point.
Okay, great.
That's the kind of comedy I do. Is a little too vulnerable, a little weepy. So that's
I'm a
definitely
Cancer.
nice.
I'm here for it. Yeah, yeah. That's my weekend plan. Is I'm going. I haven't decided which of your shows that I'm going to, but I'm very excited to see you. I mean, I haven't seen you perform for quite a while now, so I'm really excited. And just for like a little cozy community vibe and laughing a little bit, I think it's gonna be really fun. How are you feeling as far as like preparation wise?
Well, I'm doing all new stuff.
Exciting.
It's funny because I feel like Boise. I always am like, does Boise think I'm not that great at comedy? Because I start my new stuff here. I do like very unpolished material here. Then I take it on the road. Then I record an album. I feel kind of bad for Boise because I'm always kind of like, hey, these are brand new and they're totally unformed. But eventually when they're on an album, they'll be great. So, but it's also kind of fun. I think a lot of people actually sort of enjoy being part of the process and getting to hear things very raw and new. And I don't know why, but they do seem to enjoy that here. So
no, I agree. And Mad Swede, I feel like, and this is the location downtown. I feel like it is kind of it has a bit of a workshop vibe. In there. Like, I don't know. That's just how I think of it. I've only been to like open mic nights there for readings and stuff. And so I feel like it'll be a good place to just kind of like settle in and try some new stuff.
I've never performed there. This is my first time there, just because I don't perform in Boise a whole lot, So, but I think it'll be fun, and it'll be nice to kind of shake the dust off. And I have a festival I'm headlining next week, which is part of the reason I was like, oh shit, I better practice my art a little bit. But yeah, that'll be fun. So is that where you're going to enjoy the rain and come see me?
Yeah, pretty much. I want to shout out, hopefully I'll be able to talk about this more next week, but I want to shout out the Lit Room, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but do you know the tiny little house that is across the street from the Garden City Push and Pour? The one that's just like surrounded by gravel? Yeah. So that is now home to the Lit Room, which is a small indie bookstore that was started in Meridian by this it's mostly like a couple of people and one person in particular. I didn't talk to them about naming them before, so I won't yet. But they started the Boise Banned Book Club after the Nampa School District started banning some books a year ago. And so they've been doing stuff just kind of online and hosting little events like the Meridian Night Market and stuff like that. And so they have their own little space open now that they kind of debuted during Flipside last weekend. And so I just want to shout them out. I'm a big fan of them. And I'm going to my first ever book club this weekend there, which I'm very excited about. I've never been to a book club. I'm like, I don't know how prepared I'm supposed to be, but it'll be fun. So I'm excited about that. And I'm a big I'm just a big book girly. So
anytime
I get to talk about books, I'm thrilled. So.
Well, I have a book weekend too kind of coming up just because. So I do have these shows coming up and I'm going to swing by, absolutely not miss JJ's memorial. Yeah. But then after that, I'm going to swing by the Boise Comic Arts Festival is this weekend at the zoo. And one of their keynote speakers is a friend of mine. We went to high school together and he's an incredibly talented artist and writer. So I'm going to swing by that and go see all my favorite librarians. And so, it sounds like we're both having a rainy little book weekend. That'll be so nice.
How lovely. Wow.
All right, Blake. Well, thank you for sobbing your way through this one with me. And JJ, we love you. And Boise, we love you too.
Yeah. Love you and have a good weekend, everyone.
That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. The show is produced by Frankie Barnhill, Evelyn Avitia, Grant Irving, and me, Emma Arnold. Blake Hunter writes our Hey Boise newsletter, and our music is by Up Is the Down Is the. If you enjoyed our show today, leave us a review. It helps other people find us. We'll be back Monday with more stories from around the city. Bye!